But the process of Tawbah is a perpetual process of constantly addressing that which bars us from God. And therefore, the great masters have said that Tawbah in itself becomes a barrier, and there has to be Tawbah from Tawbah. Tawbah from Tawbah means that when we are in the process of addressing our own habits, we have to address that thing, because that thing in itself prevents us from reaching God, because Tawbah always assumes that we are less than what we ought to be. And this assumption and this thought that we are less than what we ought to be in itself becomes a barrier. And sometimes it becomes a point of arrogance. In any case, let us explain this. In our field of wayfaring, what we are taught in this discussion of wayfaring, traits that we have within our personalities are seen as being akin to personality. What that means is, as the Prophet says, on the day of Qiyamah, people will be raised in the forms of animals: ants, snakes, serpents, scorpions, dogs, pigs, donkeys. Why will they be raised in the forms of these animals? Because their souls are akin to those animals in terms of the habits and the dispositions that the souls possessed. What that means is that if a person is angry, then anger becomes identified with their identity. And anger is represented, let us say, in the form of a dog. If they are overly indulgent and licentious in their habits, then that becomes their disposition, and that becomes their identity, and that is most akin to the form of a pig, let us say. If there are people who are shut off from a wider inquiry and are satisfied with the mundane aspects of life, then that becomes their disposition, and that becomes their identity, and that is most closely resembled by the cattle, who are satisfied in eating and drinking and sleeping. So habits become dispositions, dispositions become identity, identity becomes then the essence of the human being. So Tawbah is in addressing these dispositions and removing them one after another. Arrogance, therefore, becomes our identity, and it is most closely resembling the identity of Iblis, and therefore the soul becomes demonic. So Tawbah would therefore be a constant process of addressing these attitudes, these habits, these dispositions, and gradually removing them.